great pleasure now to welcome John McConnell. He's the president and CEO of Victoria Gold. They're an emerging gold producer producing or targeting 200,000 ounces of gold production in the Yukon. They have their first year of full production under their belt now. I'm really excited to have him come on. Tell us about how the first year went and what the plans for the future are. John, thanks for joining us.
I take my hat off to your interpreters. Andrew is a very fast talker. I can't imagine trying to translate to German that quickly. All right, usual forward-looking statement. These are pretty exciting times at Victoria Gold. I never dreamed 12 years ago that we would be operating the largest gold mine in Yukon history by now. It's certainly been a journey, and I must tell your viewers that developing, building, operating mines is not for the faint of heart, particularly ramping up in the middle of a pandemic. But we're getting through that, and I'll address that a little more as we move through this. So what I'm going to talk about today are the highlights listed there. But I wanted to draw your attention to that BMO box at the top right. I won't repeat it, but I stole this from a BMO research report last July. And they weren't talking necessarily about Victoria. They were speculating about what would be the best thing to have going during this gold market. And I think clearly Victoria fits what they're describing there. Just to orient you, this is a shot of the Eagle Gold Mine in the top right. You can see the open pit down to the primary crusher, secondary stockpile, secondary and tertiary crushers in this building here, overland conveyor to the leach pad, gold recovery plant, and then the camp down here. This distance from right to left is about 8 kilometers, so it's not exactly a site you walk around. You need a pickup, and it's a big property. COVID, we've been very fortunate. I say fortunate, but we have put in good measures, and we've had no COVID cases on site since this. Going back to a year now. And I think a lot of that has to do to the measures we put in place in terms of physical distancing, but also the screening we put in place for all employees going to the site. We're hopeful that a lot of this will be behind us by the end of March because, we hope to have all of our employees vaccinated during the month of March. The ramp up, I'll draw your attention to the line there, gold produced. You can see Q1 of last year, 10,000 ounces, Q2, 28,000 ounces, Q3, 35, Q4, 42. So the trend is there towards getting up to our design capacity of plus 200,000 ounces per year. We did stumble a bit in the third quarter. That was related to two things. One, we found the ore was far more abrasive than we had anticipated in the design. And what that meant is things like liners and chutes wore out far more quickly than we anticipated. So say a liner should last 6 months, it was lasting 6 weeks. The solution is to change out those liners, change them to a different design, a different material. But that takes time when you're trying to operate and was complicated by COVID. Normally you'd bring in specialty contractors to do that kind of work, but we couldn't get people into the Yukon March through July. So we were relying on things like Zoom to diagnose problems and come up with solutions. And I think you can understand that is not the most productive or efficient method. But in July, the border to the Yukon opened up and we started getting those specialty guys in. but we did miss guidance in the third quarter, and we put out revised guidance, which we quite comfortably met in the fourth quarter. Just in terms of some of those design issues, you can see some of the liner replacements here, changing materials. In some cases, conveyors had to be completely changed because what the original design was just didn't work. In the case for Grasshopper conveyors, they were under-designed. They had 75 horsepower motors. We've now upgraded those to 200 horsepower motors, and they're working fine. The other thing we've done over the past year is try and build capacity into the system. What I mean by that is stockpiles where we can and alternatives to using crushers. So, we've now completed the overland road for ROM. It runs from the open pit around the valley to the leach pad. So we have the capacity of not only hauling run-of-mine material, but we could haul crushed material as well. We've also put in a secondary crusher, small portable unit capable of crushing 1,000 tons an hour. It sits just in here, and it can directly load onto the overland conveyor. So if we get caught with the primary down and the secondary and tertiary down, we can still stack to the leach pad. Similar, we have a large secondary crusher stockpile. So if the primary crusher goes down, we can continue to feed the secondary and tertiary and stack to the leach pad. Two questions people should always ask a new mine operator. First one is grade reconciliation. How does the grade hold up to what you had in the feasibility study? In our case, we sample all the production blast holes, and we have a belt sampler that samples the material going on to the leach pad. We reconcile that right back to the original reserve block model, which you can see here on the right. And you can see a lot of good correlation. So, we're seeing that grade is not an issue, and you can tick the box on grade. Second question is, how is recovery reconciling? Again, there we're seeing good correlation with what we expected. I should remind you that this is a heap leach operation, and we have quite a long full cycle time of 150 to 200 days. So it's actually too early to draw real conclusions, but we are seeing good correlation. And within the next 9 to 12 months, I'll be able to definitively say we're getting the recovery that we anticipated. Another thing we're working on right now is expansion and mine life extension. We have a project internally we refer to as Project 250, and that's to increase production from 200,000 ounces per year to 250,000 ounces per year by 2023. Now, a few things we can do to achieve that. One is year-round stacking. Right now, we're not stacking on the leach pad because of the cold, but we're learning, and we're very confident that in coming years, we'll be able to go to year-round stacking. Another thing is we see a lot of fines in the material blasted. The rock breaks very easily. So we think there's an opportunity to screen off those fines and direct haul or convey those to the leach pad, giving us more capacity through the primary and secondary crushers. And then the third thing is certainly at today's gold price, there's an opportunity to lower the cutoff grade and haul more run-of-mine material directly to the leach pad. So all that put together, we are striving to get up to 250,000 ounces per year by 2023. In terms of mine life extension, right now we're doing what we call the Eagle Deep drilling program. The current pit goes to about 350 meters, And we had a couple holes that went down to 600 meters, but we had never tested below 350 in any substantial way. So we're putting in, I think it's roughly 14 holes for two reasons. One, it may make sense to increase the strip ratio now, and which would allow us to get deeper in the future, or we'll start doing the feasibility study on a pushback of the high wall, say in year 5 or 6, to allow us to go deeper. Successful team, my management team's been together now for, other than Dave Rouleau, for more than 10 years. And Dave joined us over 2 years ago now. Very experienced open pit mine operator. In terms of the board, I think you'll recognize many of the names. They're all very successful. Sean Harvey, Mike McGinnis, everybody knows Sean Rusin, Joe Ofsenek of Pretium fame. And then the other thing about the board is we try and change out 2 board members every 2 years, which creates lots of new thinking on the board and provides good governance. Yukon, I can't say enough about what a great jurisdiction it is. Certainly stable, good infrastructure. Pre-COVID, I could get on the airplane in Vancouver at 8 in the morning, connect through the capital city of Whitehorse to Mayo on Sched flights, drive to site and be there in time for lunch. Exploration. It's only the last 3 years we've started to step out from Eagle and look at the regional potential. We now have over 550 square kilometers of prospective ground. We started by doing airborne geophysics. We followed this up with ground geophysics and ground geochem, and have now some 13 or 14 high priority targets. We're currently focused on an area out to the east called Nugget. It's another large granodiorite intrusive with similar characteristics to the intrusive that hosts Eagle. We built a road out there in 2018, 19, and we got out there and did some trenching in 2019 and got a few diamond drill holes in and made a new discovery called Raven on the southeast corner of the Nugget intrusive. And you can see why we got excited. Trenches, 124 meters of 3.5 grams, diamond drill holes, all multi-gram right from surface. We got out there with an abbreviated program in 2020 because of COVID, but we were able to triple the strike length of the Raven deposit. And our plans for the coming year are to put in over 14,000 meters of drilling there. So we have a program outlined for 2021 with a budget of roughly $10 million. Most of that will go into Nugget, some of it into Eagle Deep, and then there's another target out to the east called Lynx, and we're going to get into the target furthest to the west called Falcon and do a little bit of work there again this year. Shareholder Registry, it's a real blue chip group of institutions that hold Victoria. You can see some of the names there: Orion, Fidelity, Sprott, Sentry, SSI Management, Gabelli, BlackRock. It's the who of the institutions that invest in the mining sector. Personally, I own 1% of the company. It's important that I point out I've purchased all my shares in the market. We didn't IPO this company and give ourselves a bunch of penny founder shares. We've bought in the market, so certainly my interests are very much aligned with our shareholders.
Fantastic. I got to stop you, unfortunately, right there, John. we
Okay,
are out of time. No, I really appreciate you running us through the Victoria Gold story. I'm really excited about the exploration upside, how you've dealt with challenges. That was really insightful. I really appreciate that. I know we have a few questions in the chat, so please stay on and answer those. But we do have to move on. And
sure.
all the best for 2021. And I hope to catch up with you fairly soon, and maybe we can meet for a glass of red wine.
Absolutely, Kai. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, appreciate it. Good to see you, John.